Namaste, bitches. Hope you guys are blessed. Today I wanted to talk about a conversation that I actually had with one of my loved ones recently, and the conversation was surrounding responsibility. And essentially I had said something along the lines of the only people that we are responsible for is ourselves, and they made the point to say that, well, they feel as though we are also responsible for our loved ones, right? We are responsible for supporting them when, they are in positions in which they're having a rough time or they're struggling. It is our responsibility in those moments to teach them, to guide them, to support them. And I agree with those points, right? I do. I think those things are true, but I wouldn't use. Personally, I feel like I wouldn't use the term responsibility, because I think we can't be responsible for someone else and for their life. Because if we're choosing to be responsible for their well-being and we choose to be responsible for taking care of them, then that means we are also responsible for when they do wrong. That means we are also responsible for their wrongdoings and for when they cause harm. You know what I mean? And of course, those are things that are out of our control, and those are things that, those are actions that they are choosing consciously and willingly to embark on and to pursue, and things of that nature. So, the way I see it is like, we can provide guidance, we can provide support for our loved ones and for those that we care about. And but at the end of the day, when we provide that support, when we provide those teachings, it is not our job to ensure that those things are followed or abided by, because as human beings, one of the things that we're gifted with is our ability to have autonomy, right? It's our ability to have independence, and it's our ability to choose, right? It's our capability that we have in order to make choices of how we choose to lead our lives, right? Whether that be something that's, constructive for us or destructive for us, it doesn't matter, right? That's something that we have within our power, within our grasp. And, when we're providing that support for someone, I think, it's hard seeing someone that we care about going down a path that might be harmful to them or destructive for them. But I think that also the misconception is that we believe that people may not know how this is harming them. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that there aren't times where they aren't aware, but ultimately many people may be aware of the harm that they're causing themselves and to those around them, and some of them may be willing to change, and that change can happen if there's a conscious decision that is made, right? So our responsibility in those circumstances is, our responsibility can then be to teach, but it's also to learn, right? We have the capability to teach but also learn, which means that we have to trust that other people also have that same capacity to teach as well as learn themselves, and our position then becomes, how do we nurture a space for that person to learn? And the only way that can happen is if they're willing to do that, right? In the Gita, it says to force a teaching upon someone is a violent act, because you can't make someone do something that they're not ready for. You can't make someone do something that they're not willing to do. You can bring a horse to water, but if that horse is not thirsty, it's not going to drink. The same way that you can tell someone and show someone a way out of their negative thinking patterns, but if they're choosing to stay in that realm because it's comfortable for them and that's where they feel safe, whatever you say or do is not going to bring them out of it, and something I just want to give like a trigger warning as well before I dive kind of into this side of things or into this topic. I'm going to be touching on a little bit about like death and self-harm and suicide and things of that nature. But, working in the field and working alongside some of my peers even, I've come across instances as where I've had loved ones, or I've seen people who have had loved ones, take their life, you know what I mean, and end their lives very early on. And oftentimes the first feeling that their loved ones have, like their family members or friends, is that feeling of guilt, right? Or that feeling of, you know, maybe I could have done more, maybe there's more things I could have said or did to support this person. And the crazy thing is when you see someone who has a strong support system, who has, you know, built loving relationships with their family and their friends and all of those things, and yet that event still occurs, right? Now, in that moment, would you say that those people are responsible, right? Like, would you go up to their loved ones and say you're responsible for how this turned out, right? Obviously not, because at the end of the day, that person made the decision that they made. And sometimes we may not even know the circumstances that led that person there, right? And I would say that is why the best thing that we can do, and the greatest thing that we can do for someone, anyone that is having a challenging period in life, or having a tough time and struggling in their life, is to learn to meet them where they are at, and to learn to accept and love them for who they are completely, right? Meaning, like, all parts of them, whether it be good, bad, or ugly, or whatever the case is, but just accept that this is where they are right now, right? And that's what unconditional love is. It doesn't mean that we're forcing someone to change and being like, hey, you can do better than this, or, you know, you can get better, or whatever the case is. It's just completely loving someone, right? And in that complete acceptance, in that complete, you know, realm of unconditional love that we show someone, there can be an opportunity for that person to say, you know what, maybe there is a better way out, right? Because think about a child. Even when you tell a child, you know, don't push that button, the first instinct is, I'm gonna push the fucking button. You know what I mean? So anytime we tell someone what they're doing is wrong, anytime we try to tell someone that the way they're living their life, or choosing to live their life, is not the best way for them, there's always going to be resistance. You know what I mean? And Buddha even said it himself, or you know, he said, don't follow me, right? Buddha never asked his disciples to follow him. He never asked people to follow him. All he said was, if you're looking for a way out of suffering, if you're looking to lead a life that might bring you inner peace or happiness, then I can show you a way. But if you don't want to, then that's cool too. Do your thing. You know what I mean? And naturally, the people that are ready to take on that challenge, the people that are ready to heed that call and to make that change, will follow suit. And those who need more time aren't being forced into it, right? They can take their time, they can have their journey, they can utilize that moment to maybe go through the things that they need to go through before they make the willing effort to change. And in those moments is where we can provide our support. In those moments are where we can provide our guidance, you know? So the only thing we can be responsible for is ourselves, and how we choose to love others, right? We can be responsible for the unconditional love that we choose to show others. And mind you, that also means that if we're in a position in which someone is abusing us or using their power over us, to stay and take that abuse is not unconditional love, right? Because how can we show love outside into the world if we are not granting ourselves the capability of receiving it either? You know what I mean? So I think that's where our responsibility comes from. And I mentioned this, I said something like this in the previous video, where I said that we are responsible. When we begin to heal ourselves, we then realize that we are responsible not only for ourselves, but we are responsible for the world. Now, when I say we are responsible for the world, I don't mean that we are responsible for other people, right? What I mean is that we are not separate from the world. We are the world. So if we choose to manifest a world that we would like to see, if we choose to create a world that we want to see, then that must begin with us taking responsibility for ourselves and our actions and creating that world internally, so then we can see it outside, right? So we can, I don't really like quoting Gandhi that much, because there's some things that I don't fuck with about him. I guess I could talk about that in a later video, but becoming the change that you wish to see, right? You must become that first, and naturally the outside world becomes a reflection of that. I know I touched on some heavier things in this video, but again, I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear what people have to say, and I hope you guys stay blessed, man. I would love to hear your guys' contributions on what you thought about this. Again, hope you guys have a blessed day, and I'll at you guys soon. Peace and love, baby. Thank y'all. Namaste, bitches.